quartet tonight. Begin. Would you be free from the burden of sin? There's power in the blood, fire in the blood. Would you or evil a victory win? There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be free from your passion and pride? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Come for a cleansing to Calvary's tide. There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Last verse. Would you do service for Jesus your King? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Would you live daily his praises to sing? There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. We've got a list of prayer requests tonight. Does anybody here have a spoken request? Okay. Here's a couple. Gary had surgery this week on Monday. He's recovering and hopefully got to go home from the hospital today. Back surgery, so keep him in your prayers for full recovery. Debbie Gilbo, they thought she had a stroke Monday night, but it ended up not being a stroke. It has to do with she had so much pain that she fell and hit her head, and but they took her to the hospital and then they released her later on today. And it has to do nerve related. But keep Debbie in your prayers for recovery. Keep Patty in your prayers. Katrina and George and Betty Jones all still have COVID, so pray for their recovery. And Christy Thaxton passed away this week. Martin, you know Christy Thaxton? Gary's daughter. Gary Marion's daughter. Vicky's niece. Charlie, you know Christy? Yes, your age, Christy. She's got 2 kids. She passed away. It's Christy Thaxton. She was married. Gary Marion was Christy Marion.
Oh, Christy.
Yeah.
But he's supposed to get her divorce here or
Okay.
What happened?
Well, she passed. Well, she committed suicide. As far as we know. So, right. That's what I was thinking about your age. 2 kids, and she used to come here. I mean, she came when y'all were teenagers. She came some.
Very married.
Correct. And she kept, when the kids, years ago, I'm going to back up and say 15 years ago, she kept coming back in just every once in a while, like she was trying to get back in church. But she never really got back in church like she should have. And to me, okay, suicide's never the right answer. But Preacher Dave used to always say it's a immediate cure for a long-term disease or whatever, but it's immediate. It doesn't solve your problems. It doesn't solve any problems. It just creates more for everyone else. But to me, it's a reason to stay in church. There's no other reason that your kids stay in church, right? Okay. But you okay.
I didn't know if Gary had cancer. He's getting better out of it. Also,
Yeah, I think someone else told me that he had cancer. All right. Anybody else have a prayer request? Charlie Willis. And remember Sammy. Heart surgery, heart procedure today, and he's doing good. Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie, we leave some prayer. Open the Bible, please, to Malachi. Anybody got a testimony before we start? Jordan wants to testify about what's going on in this Washington. Malachi chapter 1. Jared taught from Malachi a month or so ago in Sunday school. Everybody got it? Malachi chapter 1. Last week we started on this, and I'm going to go back and review just a little bit from chapter 1 because we'll read the first couple of verses and stop and then go back at a couple of things. Now, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet you say, wherein hast thou loved us? And was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. Stop reading right there. Last week we went through these verses and a couple more verses on down, because about the choice that God made by saying, I love Jacob and I hate Esau, but it's not really a hatred towards Esau in the facts that we hate this way. It's a comparative thing. I love Jacob this much that what I have for Esau looks like hatred, okay? But it's not really a hatred like I want to get rid of him. But in this, he said it goes back to their choices that they made, okay? And their children, grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and generations to follow, or at the time of Malachi, are going through the same thing that Jacob and Esau went through. In Esau descendants, which are Edomites, verse 4 says, whereas Edom, that's Esau's descendants, saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build desolate places. And God says, I'm going to wipe it down again. I'm going to turn it upside down again. So those people, this today being thousands of years, 3,000 years later, close to 4,000 years later, they're 3,500 years later, they're still impoverished for the most part, okay? But then God was dealing with Esau and Jacob right there. But then he turned to Israel, who's Malachi's writing to, or God's the one speaking to. And it said, verse 6, he says, a son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If I then be a father, where's my honor? And if I be a master, where's my fear? Saith the Lord of hosts unto you, O priests that despise my name, ye say, wherein have we despised thee? He said, you offer polluted bread upon mine altar, and you say, wherein have we polluted thee? And that you say, the table of the Lord is contemptible. Stop reading right there. So look at this way, if you will. Last week we kind of went through this because the children of Israel was going to the point where, and we touched on this quite a bit, that they're at the point where they're just offering, they have to all bring a sacrifice, or they bring a lamb in. They have to do this, so that we're supposed to bring meal in, so they bring a little bit of meal in, but they don't bring in the best. They'll bring in the first fruits that they're supposed to. Now look at verse 11, because when we'll get to why they were doing this. Look at verse 11. We'll read 11 through 13, or beginning of 13. For from the rising of the sun even to the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles, and in every place incense shall be offered in my name, and a pure offering for my name shall be great among the heathen, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye have profaned it, and that ye say, the table of the Lord is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat, is contemptible. You said also, behold, what a weariness it is. Stop reading right there. Okay, look at this way. We didn't read the verse, but back up in verse 10, God says, you won't serve me for nothing. And he's talking to his leadership in Israel, his chosen generation, his chosen people. You won't serve me for nothing. You won't do anything unless you're getting paid for it in some way, or feel like you're getting paid for it. Let's go back and read the verse 10. Who is there among you that would not shut the doors for naught? That means you won't open or close the doors unless you're getting paid to do it. Neither do you kindle a fire on my altar for naught. He's talking to his priest now, okay? He said, you won't build a fire, you won't open or close the doors, you won't do anything that I ask you to do, or command you to do, unless somehow you feel like you're getting paid, or you are getting paid for doing it. And they have said that same group of people down in verse 13, he said, they're saying, what a weariness it is. Okay? Okay. What a weariness it is. That is why they quit bringing their best offering. Because they're tired. Tired of serving. That's why they don't do the daily sacrifices they're supposed to, burn the incense as they're supposed to. In Gospels, Jesus gave the illustration of the parable of the four soils, where the seed was sown and scattered on the ground, different soils. One was on stony ground, which the birds came and ate it up, so the seed was not left there. Some went into shallow ground, where it sprung up immediately, and there was joy, but the joy just lasted a little time, but then withered away. There's no fruit. And the third soil went into good ground, decent ground, but it got choked up by the vines, the cares of this life, and got choked up with other things. But then only one out of the four soils actually got productive, because when the seed went in, they were productive. What's the difference? They're weary. It's kind of like you get tired. Tired of doing the right thing. Okay. With the protests that went on in Washington, D.C. today. So someone asked me recently, about 2 weeks ago, why I hold the political views that I do, and I told them why. And they didn't like the idea that I said, but I said I hold it. They said you've been brainwashed by Fox News. I said I don't have Fox News. You've been in my house. I don't have TV. I don't have Fox News. I don't listen to it on the radio. I listen to the different opinions and stuff on the radio, from talk radio to ABC News to NPR, all different things. Some on Fox News on radio, but it wasn't not a lot. I listen to the different opinions to hear what different people think. But I know what I believe. I know what I've held to for 40 years. So for 25 years before there was a Fox News, whenever they come out. Okay, so so I've had the same beliefs based on truth the entire time. Okay, so but my response to that person was, you get tired of the attacks. People are telling you that you're a racist, or people telling you you're a bigot, people telling you you're a homophobe, people telling you you're a white supremacist. Well, we're not white supremacists. People telling you you should have white guilt because you are white and you should get all this privilege. And I thought, no, people get tired of the attack of being called what they are not. Okay, and to me, whatever happened in Washington D.C. today, I thought, of course, my first thought is whoever threw the first rock through a Capitol window, the first person to throw a rock was probably being paid by what's that group, Antifa or somebody like that. You know, they're the ones that start the riot part, not the peaceful protest parts. Okay, but people get tired, weary. Okay, in the first couple of verses we looked at Jacob and Esau. Okay, I want to skip down. I want to go down to chapter 2 and look at the first 3 or 4 verses, because I'm going to tie this back in together. Okay, with the weariness thing. Why people get weary, why they quit coming to church, quit going to church, quit serving God. I was talking to someone a year ago about alcohol, and they don't drink. They have no desire to drink. They don't want to drink. They come to church here. They said that, but they know that the first time they set their standard of not drinking down and start drinking, they figure they're going to check the kids out in a rehab unit shortly thereafter. You know, because the kids are going to get addicted to something or start drinking or get on drugs themselves. Okay, so that's their reason not to. Everyone has a reason not to. So Malachi chapter 2. I'm going to read the first 4 verses because this has to do with Levi. Okay, not David's grandson Levi, but this is the grandson Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is Isaac's grandson, Jacob's son Levi, which became the Levitical priesthood, the first priests. Okay. And now, O you priests, this commandment is for you. If you will not hear, and if you not lay it to heart, to give glory unto my name, saith the Lord of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you. I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because you do not lay it to heart. It doesn't. the things that come out of your mouth don't really mean anything. Even you're reading scriptures, it doesn't mean anything to you. It gets to that point. This goes back to the weariness part. Behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feast, which is part of the feast, and one shall take you away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, saith the Lord of hosts. Well, why? Anybody know why God chose Levi? Remember Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons and one daughter, Dinah. He had 12 sons. Anybody know why God chose Levi? Everyone know God chose Judah to be the kingly tribe, which was where King David came from, right? Reuben was cast aside because of his actions, okay? The oldest son. He chose Levi. We'll read the verse in a minute. Don't read ahead, Jerry. He chose Levi for a reason, okay? Okay? He said, I want you to be the priest. Levi will be Moses and Aaron's great-great-great-great-grandfather, okay? He said, I want you to be the priest. I was choosing the first male of each family to be the priest for the family, individual household family, but we're not going to do that now. I want one person, one tribe to be separated to me, to be priests. He chose Levi, okay? We'll look at verse 6 till why, okay? Or verse 5. My covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me. He had true fear of me, a real fear of God, okay? And was afraid before my name. I was driving down the road today and listening to the chaos on the news and what's going on in Washington, D.C. I was still working. And you could hear fear and panic in people's voices, okay? Not of people that fear God, but fear. And you could hear people saying, there's a lot of people praying right now. News reporters saying that. Not reporters, commentary people from ABC News. And I think, who are they praying to? Do they know God? Do they really know God? Do they know God? The only way to know God is through Christ. Do they really know who he is? Okay? So why did God choose Levi? First thing is because he feared him. Had a reverential respect for him. Okay? The way it started with the fear. Verse 6. The law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. Iniquity is justification for sin. How we justify stuff, and we want to do stuff we know it's wrong. We want to do stuff that's wrong. Iniquity was not found in his lips. And he walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity. Stop reading right there. So starting with Levi, for the next how many generations down, when I'm going to Aaron, the priesthood, doing the Levitical priesthood, so we'll get term from, all those generations are blessed because Levi walked with God, feared God, and walked with God. Law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. If iniquity is sin, we'll read several times in the Bible about sin and iniquity. Sin, we'll say, is an action. Iniquity is the reason why we do what we do, right? You ever make an excuse for why we do what we do? You do something you know you're not supposed to do, and you have your own reason for it, justification for it, right? Am I the only one that does that? Okay. Gluttony is a sin. I eat too much of the buffet. Well, you got to pay so much for it, so you might as well get your money's worth, right? So that word of you might as well get your money's worth and eat more than you should. That's the gluttony part. That's the sin is eaten. The iniquity is justifying it in your heart and in your mind as to why you're going to do what you do or why you have done what you've done. Okay? Levi didn't do that. He chose to do right because of his fear of God. And God said, he walked with me in peace and equity. What's equity? It's when things balance out, right? Equity is when is that what that means? Equity is when things are just kind of equal. Equity is a balancing thing. So here's a man who walks with God in peace because he knows he's right with God. And equity means whatever he's done, he's not justifying it. He balances it out with God. Not justifying himself with God, but balances out, make sure everything's okay. Just like Job, before his children died, Job chapter 1, he'd offer sacrifices just in case they had done something they weren't supposed to do. But John, do you know anybody that's that close to God, that walks with God in that way? I don't know. I don't know how close individual walks with God. But God said that's why I chose Levi. Okay? And God makes these choices. Yeah, Brother Ron, it's providence of God. He decides, providence of God, God makes his choices beforehand. He makes his decisions, knowing what's going to happen in the future. Like when he chose David to be king, he knew what David was going to be like as king. When he chose Moses to lead Israel, because he knew what Moses was going to be like. When he chose Aaron to be the priest, he knew what Aaron was going to be like. Well, Brother John, God hasn't chosen me to do that. Levi's faith and walk was real. His fear of God, his faith in God was so real that God said, I'm going to bless your family forever, okay, by doing this. Go back to chapter 1, verse 15. Verse 13 said, yes, I said, what a weariness it is. It's talking about serving God. It real doesn't get weary, okay? To me, let's see. I was watching a program on TV. It's after a movie or something, and they were giving us an interview thing, and one of the actors said, I get tired in my work. I physically get tired. He's probably in his 70s now. I get tired in my work, but I never get tired of my work. You know, that's a world of difference, right? Anybody hate going to the job? Charlie, you hate going to the job? Marlon, did you hate going to your job? Did you hate going to your job when you was working? Jared, do you hate going to your job? Not most days. On occasion. Okay. People ask me, how can you drive? Yesterday I left the house at 5, got home at 7:30. So not 2.5 hours. I left before at 4:05, actually a.m. and about 7:40 p.m. And so I said, how can you drive whatever it is, 14, 50 hours? I like it. Okay, I like going out and seeing people. I like going and seeing my friends, and they tell me stories, and I tell them stories, and they pay me enough money to do this. Okay, and I get to witness when I do it. Okay, and I get the prayer requests when I go, and it's good. Sometimes I get tired of driving, but I don't get tired of my work. Okay. We can't go on visitation now much. Jim Summers and I talked for about 40 minutes today. It seemed like a long time. And we've in the past couple of years we've made several different visits together. He's called me, or he's come to me in church and said, we need to go see so and so. A man died about a couple of weeks ago that Jim and I went to visit him 3 times before he got saved. Okay, but he did get saved about a year ago, and I'm glad he got saved. Bob Gumgardner. It had owned the original Bob's Gun Store. Because it was on Jim's heart to go visit him. He was his friend. Let's go visit him. We never get tired of making the visit. Sometimes we get physically tired of just going, just the idea of going. You get weary, but not weary of the work, right? Charlie, do you get tired of researching history for the kids to present it to the kids? You don't get tired of looking at the history part, do you? No, right. That's the parts that you like. The researching for the history. Sunday week ago, when he was past Sunday, so the Sunday week ago, Jerry got up in Sunday school, and he couldn't wait to deliver the nugget that he found in his reading. Right, Jerry? First time in history. No, I'm just kidding. But he said, I got this. I can't wait to get this. And he put it that way. And I said, I know what that's like, because you see something and say, yeah, I can't wait to show everyone I got. I got home from work one day, and Tammy said, have you seen this? Here's a Wild Wild show. Yeah, I've read that before. Yeah, she's so excited because she read this and she found this, and she's a Bible verse or whatever, and she's found this. She said, "Did you know this?" Yeah, no, it's new to me. She's just so excited. I ain't gonna bust the bubbles. And sometimes it has been something I hadn't seen it the way she's seen it. Okay, if your faith is real, your fear of God is real, and you walk with Him in peace and equity like Levi did, you won't get weary of it. You won't get weary of serving Him. You'll get tired physically, but you won't get weary. You won't get tired of I will give up. You won't get that won't happen. So the issues, all these issues lie in our heart. The weariness is keep your heart with all diligence, according to Proverbs, for out of it are the issues of life. So the weariness will destroy us, but you won't get tired of serving if your heart is right. You keep your heart in it. And then the providence of God, where we talk about him choosing Levi or David or Jacob and Joseph and Mary, different people that He's chosen. God makes His choices, but He already knows what you're going to do. Okay. At one point, when God told Moses to offer up, God told Abraham to offer up Isaac as a sacrifice, and he was willing to offer up Isaac as a sacrifice. He said, God stopped him and said, "Now I know." Okay. God knew what He was going to do. But He said, "Now I know. You've proved to yourself and to me that you will obey me, that you don't love Isaac more than me." Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. God has a job for each one of us to do. Now you are chosen, every one of us chosen generation, part of His plan. God has a job for every one of us to do. If we just don't get weary and quit. So I just can't do this anymore. Okay? There's a lot of people that say, "I just can't anymore." Okay? Something inside of me says, if I keep this right, if I keep my heart right, I get tired physically, but I won't get weary, tired of the serving Him. I want to serve Him. There's times we're in here helping. They might come in and sometimes help Michelle clean or something like that in the church. I'm in here vacuuming the floor, the carpet. When we come in on a day that I'm going to help in cleaning the church, the first thing I want to do is I want to vacuum in here, because I pray for people and stuff when I'm in here. But there's something inside of me that says, if all I get to do in service for God is to come in and vacuum the carpet, I want to do it. If all I get to do is help Tammy cut out stuff, I'm not good at that. If to help Tammy cut out stuff for kids' class, if that's all I get to do, I don't want to ever get to the point where I can't do it. Now I may get crippled up, gnarled up fingers, and I can't cut stuff anymore, or I had to be like my dad and have to walk with a walker, and I'll be able to push a vacuum around or whatever. But if all I get to do is serve in some capacity, if my heart is right, I'll never get tired of serving. Any questions? Comments? Okay, let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Thank you for the truth you've given us in your word. I pray that you'll help us to not grow weary in well doing as you command us to do. Not get tired of doing right. To keep our heart in the right spot, in the right shape. Yielded to you. Fearful of you. Walking in truth and equity and peace with you. Use us, please, as a church family. Use the men in this room, or those who are listening from home, to lead our families that will always love you and serve you. In Jesus' name we ask. Thank you for the opportunity you've given us to serve you. Amen. Okay, move this book.